Shabbat Shalom. So this is that time when everyone is back from camp but not off to college yet in my home. And so the other day it was about 8 o'clock, and Ezra, my youngest, was frying something up on the stove. I'm getting ready to head out to a meeting, and Caleb, my eldest, comes downstairs from his bedroom all chipper. Hey everyone, how's it going? He lays out his plans for the day, asks what we're up to. Well, I'm going out, he says, meet some friends around 9:30, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. What are you guys up to? I'm like, dude, you know it's 8 p.m., right? Now, he had not actually intended to start his day at 8 p.m. He had just taken a particularly aggressive nap. But the truth is, I think many of us live in a world that is unmoored from time as set in the heavens. There are very few activities that are now restricted to one time of day. You can communicate, you can find food, you can shop, you can work, you can sleep, you can get a tan no matter what the sun is doing. Now, there used to be appointment television. It used to be at 8 o'clock on Thursday nights, you were sitting down in front of the TV because you had to watch Friends, you had to see Seinfeld. I was never into Seinfeld because if I wanted to watch neurotic Jews, I could just look out my window. But nowadays, you can watch your favorite show when you want to, all in a row. You don't have to wait for it to come out. Or even in sports, you could be sure that the Cubs game would be at 3 in the afternoon Eastern time. Right? I don't know why you would want to know that, but, right? Nowadays, they're playing in Seattle, they're playing in Barcelona. Who knows, right, where they're playing these games? Businesses are open at any hour. If you go to Vegas in the casino, it could be 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. in the casino. You can't tell. And of course, the world of communication happens all hours of the day or night. You are as likely to get an email from me at 2 a.m. as 2 p.m. This is new. In the ancient world, day and night and the activities that were appropriate for each were very well defined. Most people arose with the dawn, were eating dinner at dusk, and since artificial illumination, olive oil was very expensive, they went to bed pretty soon after dark. Only the extravagantly wealthy could sleep in until 8 a.m. or party past 9 p.m. There were very few things that would be happening both day and night, morning and evening. In the portion we read this week, I think many of you noticed it included the words of the Shema, Shema, Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad. And those words are the most important words in our faith, I would argue. They're among the very first words that we offer in prayer with our young children, and they are the last words of prayer that we are supposed to utter before our passing. But also for an observant Jew, those words form parentheses around the entirety of one's day. Because the verse says, B'shoch b'cha uvkumecha, when you lay down and when you wake up. And so we interpret that to mean these are the words that you say when you go to sleep and when you awaken. So they bracket the activities of the day. Before I go to sleep, this is what I say. When I wake up, these same words again. So it's hard to know how to manage this mitzvah, how to manage this process in a world where time means less and less. So one of my hobbies is on the Committee of Jewish Law and Standards, and we get questions that you would not have expected. So we got a question from someone who is a Jew who is trying to be observant, being a crew member on a nuclear submarine. So when you're on a nuclear submarine, you do not have a good view of the sun. And in fact, when you're in a nuclear submarine, only a few people on the boat know where it is. Hopefully the guy who's driving does. But if you are on the crew, where you are is on a need-to-know basis, and you do not need to know. Where are you? You're on a submarine. So there is no way of knowing, is it morning, is it night, right? This is like a casino, but no slot machines. And he asked, when should I say the Shema? The answer is, say it. And by the way, there's not even day and night on the submarine because there are shifts. And for some of you, it's day. And for some of you, it's night. And so when you get up, somebody else comes and takes your berth. So there's not even literally 8 a.m. and 1600 hours, same thing. We have the luxury of being able to look out the window and know what time it is. But what I would suggest to you is that we think about what are the things that frame our day. What sets the tone for everything that happens? What is the first thing that you do morning? What is the last thing that you do at night? Maybe it's saying the Shema. Maybe it's taking your medications. Maybe it's brushing your teeth. Maybe it's telling someone that you care for them. Now, by the way, the answer for many of us is check our phones. The anecdotal evidence seems to confirm that people leave cell phones or other devices right by their beds, and they will check messages literally the last thing that they do before they go to bed, or the first thing that they do even before they get out of it. Doom scrolling knows no limits of day and night. And especially now, we wake up and we want to know what terrible things happened while I was asleep. And so the idea of saying the Shema, of something spiritual to frame our day, is something that's very powerful. And in fact, if you look at the words of the Shema, the idea is that our days are meant to be framed by things that matter. So the realms in which we operate, tefillin, the idea that the words of the Shema are on our body is the first sphere in which we operate. The mezuzah, our home, the next sphere out in which we operate. That we should teach these words to our children, v'shinamtem levanecha, that we should share with our families. Each of the frames by which we define our lives, our bodies, our homes, our families, our time, are all defined by how we connect to God. They're all bounded by something that relates us to something holy. The idea of the Shema ultimately, and the idea of saying the Shema morning and evening, I think it's very powerful that those words that we say morning and evening, the second sentence begins with the word ve'ahavta, and you shall love the Lord your God. It is not about commandedness. It's not about vengeance. It is about love. So as some of you know, my friend Shai Held is visiting Atlanta this weekend. He'll be with us tomorrow night. And we will be studying his book over the next few weeks. One of the things that he says is that love is not just a thing that you do, although you express it through actions. That love is actually a state of being. Love is something that frames your existence. And so as you think about the words of the Shema day and night, we can think about what are the things that are instinctive? What are the things that just are the defaults that frame our life without thinking about them? If you are so out of it that, like a college student on break, you don't know or care if it's morning or night, what are the things that you do know? What are the things that do not fall off your schedule when you have nothing on it whatsoever? What are the constants in your life when you go out of your home? Is there a mezuzah on your door that marks that you are passing a boundary? What is it that happens, sort of the most intimate place in our lives is our bed. It is the place when we are closest to those who we are close to. It is the place when we are closest to ourselves, to our dreaming, to our own subconscious, our own unconscious. What are the words of the say? What are the things that we do when we are in our most intimate, our most private, our most secluded space? I teach a class every now and then called the Mazel Tov, about every 9 months. It's for families who are expecting a first child. And one of the things that we talk about is kids are really great at ritual. Kids really do well with structure around bedtime. We know I read this book, and then I ask for water, and then I need a second kiss, and then I can go to bed. And so many parents, when their kids are really little, will start that the Shema is part of their bedtime ritual. And somehow, at some point, we grow out of it. There's TV to watch. Ugh, I'm too old for that. You know, I'm out for a meeting and the babysitter doesn't know the Shema. But what would it be if we were to fall back into that habit? Because let's face it, from when we were 1, we had bedtime rituals that were very well defined. When we were 1, our parents made it clear what happens before you go to bed. We have our bedtime ritual now. We all have those things that we do, right? There is a last nod to our partner, a last concession to our prostate, whatever it might be that we do before we go to bed in hopes that we will actually sleep through the night. We used to pray that our kids would sleep through the night. Now we hope that it's us. And then there's a point where you hope that you don't. But we start our lives with these very strong habits of what we do when we go to bed. And then we grow out of them and we develop new habits that I would argue are a little bit less healthy. Right? The last thing we see on our screen before we go to bed probably will not make us spiritually stronger. Will probably not make us happier. Will probably not make us more connected to the people we care about. Will probably not make us holier. So the words b'shoch b'cha uvkumecha, when you go to sleep and when you awaken, are words that I think we need to take to heart, al levavecha, as the Shema says. That we think about what ritual, what structure do we need to go to sleep, whether we are 21 or 31 or 41 or 51 or 81, because the time will come when we have our very last sleep. And the tradition is that the Shema are the words that we say as we depart the world. What would it be to have those be words that are not just words at the end, words of loss, but words that are not just the words we say when we're little and when we're old, words that not just frame our lives, but actually frame our everyday with connection, with holiness, with love. Shabbat Shalom.